Welcome to the Essentially You podcast. Samantha Wright. How are you doing today, girl?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Marisa?
I'm doing wonderful. So happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I love your show. I love all the work that you do. So it's really an honor for me to be here. And thanks for letting me talk to your people.
Yay. Yeah, I'm so excited. This is an area of focus that I love to dive into. And I know so often women are, when we're talking about reducing our toxic load and figuring out, what we should be using in our household, not only for us and our family, it can be so, so challenging. So we're going to be talking about becoming a label reading ninja and really just understanding chemical awareness, because as you and I both know, chemicals are everywhere. And I think sometimes people don't realize how much damage they can create inside of our bodies, not only in our hormone system, our endocrine system, but also in our neurological system, our metabolic system, all of it. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of all of how to become label savvy, I would love for you to quickly share kind of what was that defining moment for you, Samantha, when you were like, I not only need to double down on what is going on in terms of the choices that I'm making for myself and my family, but also to educate other people.
I'd say it's been a really long journey for me ever since I was younger. I was reflecting on this today about sometimes I wonder why is it that women tend to be a little more aware or vigilant about understanding their options when it comes to chemical awareness or healthcare or anything. And so for me, I was realizing, wow, like I really had my awakening moment when I was just, a young girl looking for what my birth control options were. Like, and I realized that almost every woman is going to have that similar experience. It's something that men don't necessarily have to go through at such an early age to be like, wow, I have to make this pretty important medical decision. Let me look at all my options. And so for me, that was my kind of awakening of going, wow, these options kind of suck. Like I did
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
what all those options looked like. And it really led me down this rabbit hole of learning about my body more, learning about natural options more. And that, opened a whole world for me of, wow, there's this huge medical establishment over here. They've got a lot going for them for sure, but they don't have all the answers, and they definitely don't have all the answers for what I'm looking for. And so that was sort of my awakening and led me down a path of working a lot with women. I became a doula. I was on track to becoming a midwife before I became pregnant myself. And that's really where my passion got sparked. Then down the road, I was introduced to the world of essential oils. And at that time, I was a young mom who didn't have a lot of time on her hands. I needed quick solutions that were easy and affordable, and essential oils came in my world, and they were just the answer for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for introducing me to this world of essential oils, because it's really, I feel like the mom's best friend for those quick, easy solutions. And I just had to share that knowledge with people. So I started my podcast, The Essential Oil Revolution, where that's all we do. We deep dive into the world of essential oils in the framework of empowering you to take charge of your health.
Love that so, so much. Okay, well, I want to dive into, I love the journey of like kind of needing to make those decisions, finding out that a lot of the, over the counter options are not the best options, especially for family, but especially for us ourselves. And then kind of figuring out what is the best kind of direction to go, not only for quick, instantaneous solutions, but on also how to reduce our toxic load in our homes, whether it's making over personal care products, medicine cabinet, the cleaning cabinet. I mean, all of those areas is where we're getting exposed to chemicals on the daily. So talk to me about chemical awareness and why it is so important nowadays. I think that there are more chemicals today than there ever been.
I would not disagree with you there. Yet the regulations and the rules surrounding the use of those chemicals has not changed for over 80 years. I think the last time that regulations were even voted on, the last time that our Senate, which I'm an American, so we live in the US, and the last time that our Senate was like, we actually need to take a closer look at what are the rules and regulations that companies who are selling products to people the rules surrounding what they can and can't put in those products. The last time that the Senate went to vote on anything like that was 80 years ago. So it's just sort of insane how much deregulation there is in that industry. When we compare America, especially to somewhere like the European Union, who's banned over 1,300 substances from being able to be used in cosmetics, compare that 1,300 chemicals and substances that are not allowed to be put in products over there. Guess how many are allowed or are banned from use in products in the US? I bet you know this answer, Marisa.
I have known this answer. I know it's close to zero, basically.
It's close to zero. It's 11.
Yeah, I was
11.
like, I
Yeah,
think it's like under 20.
exactly. So, that just tells you like, okay, so this other, this huge body of legislatures in this other part of the world has decided, you know what? These chemicals, we don't want them being used on our citizens. This is just not good for our citizens. The United States is like, meh, we're just gonna ban 11 of those. And again, because there's so much money and politics wrapped up in all this as well, that we haven't even been able to bring this to a vote in the past 80 years. But when you look at the cosmetic industry, it's a $532 billion industry per year. There is a lot at stake for people who have a slice of that pie. And it's one of the least regulated and most chemically laden industries in the world. And when we talk about cosmetics, we're also including like personal care, deodorant, toothpaste, makeup. And then you also look at the average household products that we use every day, like cleaning products, window cleaner, air fresheners, all those things. Same lack of regulation in that industry as well. So we're kind of the guinea pig era for, what happens to a society when we have such blasé approach to chemical safety and what we allow into our products. Thousands of these chemicals that are being used, there's no doubt, there's tons of studies and scientific proof that these chemicals can lead to cancer, can disrupt hormones, can cause birth defects, obesity, diabetes. All of these have been linked to these kind of products. So when you look at, by the end of our lifetime, you and I, Marisa, are going to have 30 to 50,000 chemicals in our body that our grandparents didn't have. And that gives you an idea of just how this issue is escalating so much, because nowadays there's so many products out there and no one is protecting you from these. You have to become a conscious consumer, and you have to learn how to look past the greenwashing and really be able to tell what's in your product so that you can protect yourself and protect your family.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that, like how, in particular, this podcast is all about becoming the CEO of your health. And it's really about ownership across the board. Like very rarely is, when it comes to dealing with a chronic condition, or especially our women's endocrine issues, we're not going to find a lot of support in the modern medical model. We're just not. And then when it comes to getting to the root cause of things, which is really the driver of all disease, one of the top 5 root causes is environmental factors. It's an environmental toxins that we're being exposed to every single day. It has to be a part of our health journey, is figuring out how and what we're using, we're consuming on a day-to-day basis, to eliminate as much of that as possible. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because women, more than anybody, we are exposed to more of these chemicals than anyone else. And it's just because of the role that we play, whether it's cleaning or it's getting ready or whatever it may be. Like I think about all the things I've done this morning, and then up until right now, I was touching all kinds of things, all kinds of cleaners and different things. Like my son had a blowout this morning, and it got, it got on his little bouncer, and you're just thinking, okay, like, what are we using for that? And so all these things, like, your hands are in it, you're involved in it. And then just to get, camera ready for this episode, what does that look like? And then the multiple products you use in the morning, just to function every single day, from brushing your teeth to, using deodorant to not smell bad. I mean, you think about all those things that go on. by the time it's like noon, I want to say that the average person's using like 20 plus, they have their hands on at least 20 plus products of some kind that is going into the biggest organ of the body, which is the skin. So yeah,
Right.
I would say that right now more than ever, we've got to be big advocates. And I know you said we're kind of the guinea pigs, but honestly, I think we're starting to see, we thinking about the 1940s, which was probably the last time we looked at regulations. And I think about the 1940s, the big slogan was like, make everything better through chemicals. And so it's kind
Right.
of when it all started. So I feel like even our parents' generation, like my mom, we're beginning to see some of that unfold as well. And like you'd mentioned, a lot of inflammatory conditions like cancer, particularly cardiovascular disease, diabetes, dementia. These are all inflammatory conditions. And best believe, when people ask me about brain fog, I'm like, brain fog is an inflammatory condition more than anything
Mhm.
else. Let's look at what kind of inflammatory issues we're having, what's driving this inflammation in our brain, in our gut, that's leading to brain inflammation. And so I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I think of all the root causes that drive disease in the body, as although this one requires a lot of education or like a lot of kind of understanding, and I think the information's out there, I think it's the easiest to change. There's some root causes I think that are intangible. Like you've really got to, like trauma and perceived chronic stress. Like those are, you can't just like swap those out for other things. But
Right,
this
exactly.
particular area, I think is actually one of the things that we have a lot more control and power of. But we have to have these kind of conversations to open the door for what's possible.
Absolutely. Well, I love what you were saying too about women tend to be exposed to more of these things, but it also means that women tend to hold a little more power
Yes. Oh,
as well. Like
absolutely.
you said, we're the CEO of our own health. A lot of women, especially not always, but a lot of the times the women are sort of the CEO of the household too, as far as deciding what they do and don't allow into their homes. And that's a pretty powerful place to be. So for people listening who are going like, oh my God, these people are exhausting me already. Like there's no way that I can get rid of my chemicals. They're everywhere. What am I going to do? Like instead of getting caught up in that exhaustion feeling or that outrage feeling of like, why is it so difficult to live a healthy life, darn it, then try to instead flip that into a feeling of empowerment and power, because really where you vote with your dollars makes a difference. And we've seen this for the past 10 years. We see so many more natural green focused products coming to market from people demanding, what, I don't want sulfites and everything, I don't want phthalates and everything, no, I don't really want to be inhaling carbon monoxide or whatever
Or
formaldehyde that's
nasty
in my air
fragrances.
fresheners.
Yeah.
Yeah, fragrances, exactly. So there's a lot more demand because of that power of where you vote with your dollars. With that, you also have to be aware of greenwashing, which we can get into if we have
Hmm.
time. But and we just also have to be conscious consumers and decide, make those choices. It only takes 5 seconds to read the back of a label, and if you're willing to do that, you will automatically start making your home a healthier place.
I absolutely agree. It's so funny when it came to our son, it was getting ready, getting his nursery ready, getting everything ready. And it's so funny because I want people to know that there's going to be different levels in which you are going to level up your reducing your toxic load. And I would say over the last decade, I've leveled and leveled and leveled, continuing to level up. But I would say that I took it to another level. My husband's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like this is
It's like,
next
you spent how much
level.
on a baby mattress?
He's like, exactly. Oh my God. My mama bought it. But I remember my mom's boyfriend was like, you spent what on a mattress? And I was like, it's the only one where that's approved by me.
Yeah.
But like the rug, the curtain panels, I mean, everything got scrutinized. Everything, the diapers, all of it, the wipes, the oil that we put on the baby. I mean, everything and anything. And then, I mean, and unfortunately, not all of our house is completely redone, but the one room that he's not in is because he's not in there yet. But even the wood, everything that went into that room, it was crazy. It was, and the beautiful thing and the reason why I'm sharing that is, as extreme as it may sound, I think that that is just so, so critical. Babies are so much more susceptible to toxins entering their system, but ultimately it has major profound impacts on their metabolic system, their growth, and their neurological system. And it's a win for everybody in the household if all of those things are happening. We're making those big changes. But the great thing about it is that although there was a little bit of research that went into it, the information is out there. And if you're willing to get in it and tackle one thing at a time, these changes can absolutely be made. And some of them can be made really affordably. Now, not all the things we
Right.
did were of the most affordable changes,
Of course.
but a lot
But
of
at
the
least
things
the
were.
options were there. I mean,
Yes.
had you been doing this 20 years ago, those higher cost options probably wouldn't even have existed.
No, no, we've absolutely, people have been voting with their dollars, just like we vote with our forks. And lots of changes are happening and things, because people are making that demand. Organic and non-toxic options that are using really healthy ingredients, they're becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And I
Yeah.
always say, like, when it comes to, our health overall, we've, at some point we're investing. Either we're investing now, or unfortunately, we are investing later in those crazy
Right.
high cost medical bills. And so I always want
Right.
to just kind of, put that into perspective, is that, yeah, you can maybe spend a little bit of money at the moment, but we're talking about cellular longevity. We're talking about vitality. We're talking about, quality of life. And I believe that we all deserve a really high quality of life for as many years as possible. And if we're
Hmm.
dealing with chronic conditions and illnesses due to inflammation because of some nasty, nasty chemicals, you can't really put a price on that.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. And I always say there's this misconception that we have a healthcare system. We don't really have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system,
Hmm.
and it has its place. And I'm not saying you should ignore your doctor or never go to the hospital, but I really like to focus on empowering people to create their own healthcare system, because we've got, sick care. You can go and get help if you need, but your doctor, your nurse, they're not really creating a healthcare system for you. They're not helping you develop a plan that you're living by every day to just keep yourself healthy and avoid that sick care later. You're the only one that can do that for yourself. As much as your doctor or your nurse might love you and really honestly truly care about your longevity and your health and vitality, they're not the ones coming home with you and cooking you a healthy meal, or
No,
buddying up with you when you need a workout buddy, or putting some essential oils in your diffuser when you have the sniffles. They can't do that for you. You are the only person that can do that for you. And that's why,
absolutely.
I'm always coming back to, like, take charge of your health, people.
Well, and doctors will know what they know, and they're following protocols, and they're not deviating
Exactly.
from that plan. And they're not deviating from protocols that were created, sometimes decades ago too. It takes a long
Right.
time from cutting edge research to get to bedside. And
Mm,
so,
mhm.
just know that as well. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about
I
birth
can share a
control.
quick story
Yeah.
about that too. It's not necessarily essential oil or chemical related, so we can cut it out later if we need. But my daughter, she's 6 years old now. She was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis when she was 4 years old. She, out of nowhere, her joints started just swelling up. Her knee at one point was the size of a softball, and she's, a skinny little thing. She was limping around in a lot of pain. Took a while to figure out, okay, this isn't a physical injury. We thought it was, maybe she sprained her knee somehow. Took a while to get referred down to the best pediatric rheumatologist in our area. So we went down and saw them. They said, oh, this is textbook JIA, which is juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which essentially means it's kind of like rheumatoid arthritis, but for a child. But that word idiopathic basically means we have no idea why this is happening. And they explained it to me this way. They said, okay, so your daughter's immune system is essentially attacking itself. It's attacking the healthy tissues within her body for no reason. And I'm a very nice person. So I kept being very nice and trying to dig a little deeper, but just kept asking the question, yeah, but why?
Hmm.
But why? Like, this does
Why the
not make any
autoimmune?
sense
Yeah.
to me. And it took me really educating myself, working outside of that system, because, for in their eyes, this was textbook JIA. Now the course of action is to pump her full of immunosuppressants and steroids
Hmm.
for at least 3 years. And it just never sat right with me. And I am empowered enough to be comfortable to say, you know what, thank you for your opinion. And that's what I call it, an opinion. I'm going to go do a little more research and figure out some things. I had to push really, really hard and fight really hard for them to even test her for anything else, including which one was Lyme disease. The first test came back negative. it took me really educating myself and learning that the false negative results for a Lyme disease test is 50 to 80% false negative. So I said, test her again, test her again. I had to push so hard. Finally, they tested her again, got a positive Lyme diagnosis, which completely changed the trajectory of her healthcare. Pretty much the worst thing you can do for someone with Lyme disease is to pump them full of immunosuppressants and steroids. It will grow the Lyme. So, it's just one example of how you really can't take for granted the importance of being your own self advocate and empowering yourself with that knowledge, and to be open and trust your gut.
Absolutely. Well, we all deserve to know the why. I tell women all the time, like, women reach out to me are like, what do I do with, I had a hysterectomy, what do I do now? And I'm like, we got to find out what was the reason why you had to have that hysterectomy. Like there was something that drove that ultimately, that's just one example. But I think about like,
Right.
what's driving the autoimmune condition? Why aren't we looking? Is it a nutrient deficiency? Is it a gut issue? Is it environmental toxins? Is it heavy metals? Is it a pathogen like Lyme? Like what's going on? And they don't go there. That's not what they're
No,
investigating. They're like,
they
this is
really,
what it is. Here's the course of action. And
yeah,
it's not like, but wait, if we can't figure out why she got this in the first place, we're going to be in this course of action forever.
right.
And that course of action has massive consequences, you know?
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I totally understand where you're coming from,
Yeah.
So I so appreciate
Yeah.
you sharing that story. And I think about you talking about the birth control story, like, as well. And I think about like, there's very few options in the birth control realm, hormonal birth control. I'm actually not a fan of hormonal birth control. I mean, I love it for the fact that it's great for if that's the option someone chooses for, not trying to get pregnant, but the fact that we leverage it for every period problem that there is. Why are we having the period problem? Because your period isn't the bad guy. It's it's just a messenger. It's just saying, hey, please help me over here. I am
Yeah.
struggling. The hormones aren't working right. What's the driver of that? Why are we
Right.
having these issues? And so I just love that one of the root causes we're talking about today. It's a big one. It's the one that is the most, to me, it's so pervasive. Their chemicals are everywhere.
Right.
They're baked into the table that I'm using right now.
Right.
Yeah, they're off
Exactly.
gassing off of because yeah, this dresser in this bedroom, that wasn't a baby dresser. I bought that before the baby. I know it's off gassing.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
let's talk a little bit about we talk so much about this on the show too, but what, in your opinion, is the first place to start? Because as I look around the room, I can see how people could feel overwhelmed
Right.
about like, oh my gosh, everything's got to go.
Everything. Yeah, exactly. And that's I am so not an extreme mom. It's like we need to approach this, all of us, with zero mom guilt, with grace, with allowing ourselves to take it one step at a time. And I tell people, I've had people say, you know what, Sam, I just can't afford a $10 bottle of shampoo. I'd rather put $10 towards, a really good food option that my kids are eating, like better bread or something. I said, that is fine. You have to make those different priorities for yourself. So, take this one step at a time. I would say one easy place to start is just to start making your own all-purpose cleaner, or finding, an all-purpose cleaner option that you feel is safe for you. Because every surface that you're spraying that on, you're breathing it in as well. And so, my all-purpose cleaner, it just lives under my sink. It's pretty much the only cleaner I use, and my kids can use it, which I love. So my kids can spray it around. If they spray it in their mouths or their eyes, or they breathe it in or something, it's okay. I don't have to call poison control.
It's
And that's just
edible.
a really easy place to start. Yeah, it's pretty much edible. So you can make your own really easily. There's tons of recipes online. A quick one I'll give here is, mine is just 1.5 cups of hydrogen peroxide. So it's a lot of hydrogen peroxide.
That's all. Yeah.
1 cup of white vinegar, and then 1 tablespoon of your favorite liquid Castile soap. I really like Dr. Bronner's. You can get it anywhere, works really well. And then from there, you can just throw in, 20 to 40 drops of essential oils, which is a lot of oil. But this makes like a quart of cleaner. I like to use lemon, eucalyptus, and rosemary. beautiful scent. And that lemon, especially any household cleaner you're making on your own, put a lot of lemon oil in it. Lemon is such a powerful cleanser, and it leaves everything sparkling and it smells amazing. So that's just one really easy place you can start.
I love it. I love it. That's a sexier recipe than the one I've got.
Okay.
But I love that. We're one of the companies we're using now. If I don't have time to make something, is Branch Basics. I love your recipe. I haven't ever used hydrogen peroxide in my cleaner before. I love
Yeah, give
that.
it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a
And
try. And then
today,
if it's not strong enough, just sprinkle some baking soda over it
for
and
sure.
it'll come off. Yeah. Baking
Absolutely.
soda is your best friend.
Yeah, we use today for the blowout situation on the baby Bjorn. I used Castile soap. I was like, okay, what would I have real quick? I love that.
Yeah,
Okay, so
exactly.
all-purpose cleaner can be the only cleaner you use. I love that, and what I love so much about that recipe, and so often any all-purpose cleaning recipe, is that you most likely have all of these ingredients inside of your cabinet already, or in your refrigerator, in both, and so that makes things so much easier. Where else? So
Exactly.
that's an easy way. Where is the next place that you would recommend we tackle?
Yeah. Second, I would start to really narrow in on the word fragrance. And that's
Hmm.
when I say I like to teach people how to become label reading ninjas. I have some cheat sheets, and I can share the download for that have, like 15 different chemicals to be aware of. But I feel like when people are just getting started, I'm like, just start with fragrance, because everyone can remember that word. It's easily recognizable, and it's one of the most deceptive of the ingredients. People, if they're reading an ingredient on the back of a label and it's so long that they can't even pronounce it, or it obviously sounds like it's a little bit too complicated to be healthy for them, then they can kind of intuitively be like, maybe I'll skip this one. But fragrance, they see it on the back of a label, and they're usually, most people are like, oh, it's fragrance, it's harmless, it's fine, it's just smell good stuff. But you and I both know, I'm sure, in the essential oil world especially, there is a huge difference between fragrance and smell. When you see the word fragrance listed as an ingredient, sometimes it's listed as perfume or perfume as well. It's really code for an engineered scent or flavoring that contains anywhere up to 3,000 different stock chemical-based ingredients, that many of which are known hormone disruptors or allergens. And these fragrance formulas are formulated and then protected by law as trade secrets, so that that company doesn't have to divulge all the crazy chemicals that they put into their product. So it's one of those sort of red tape loopholes that exist in manufacturing, where a company might know, like right now, sodium lauryl sulfate's kind of unpopular, right? People don't like sodium lauryl sulfite. I can't talk right now.
That's
Um,
no perfect. We know the
anyway,
buzzword,
people,
right?
yeah, people like are starting to understand this buzzword. So
Yeah.
if someone looks over in the ingredients list and they don't see SLS on there, but they see the word fragrance on there, there's no way to tell if that SLS is just hiding in that fragrance. There could be 3,000 different chemicals hiding in that word fragrance. And so it's one of the easiest places to start. And in fact, the American Dermatology Association has said that fragrance is the biggest cause of cosmetic contact dermatitis in the world, even more than poison ivy. So it's a very deceptive term and a super easy place to start.
I absolutely agree with you there. Yes, fragrance has got to go. And yeah, it's definitely, it's amazing to me that so many chemicals can hide under that one name, whether it's your
Exactly.
lotions or your moisturizers or your deodorants or whatever it may be. There's so much that we can hide in there, and that's really scary.
Sorry, I was going to say it's kind of one of those ingredients too that when you cut it out, you by default are also cutting out a lot of other things, just because the type of products and the type of manufacturers that are going to use fragrance are probably also using all sorts of other junk that you don't want to be using either.
Absolutely. And again, you're talking about greenwashing. Let's talk a little bit about that. It is scary. One of the things, and I don't know how this ended up happening, we have a really incredible assistant here at the house, and I was using an organic detergent for our little one, and she went to the store to go and buy that. And I hadn't looked what she bought. It was a similar brand, but ultimately it had SLS in it, and it had a fragrance in it. And I just wasn't the thing I was paying attention to. I don't do the laundry. And within about a week, the baby started getting these little, this kind of rough skin. And I was like, but it wasn't in his diaper area. It wasn't on his face. And I was like, I don't know about, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good to me. And I went out to go see what we're using. She was supposed to be using a different one. And it's just, the mix up happened. And I grabbed it. And sure enough, I was immediately started reading the ingredients. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my God. So we took everything got washed. Everything got
Yeah.
rewashed. Everything got re-rinsed twice because we had to get rid of all of it. And then I started using a really gentle salve with essential oils in it, with chamomile and lavender and frankincense, to kind of heal his little skin up. And everything's good to go again. But it's
Yeah.
crazy, like what was seamlessly a really safe, it was in the green area of Whole Foods. It
Mm-hmm.
literally looked like the
Mm-hmm.
exact other container we had bought. She thought she got the right one, and I didn't question it. It looked the same to me, and here we
Right.
were.
Exactly. Yeah.
We had a situation on our hands,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, greenwashing, just sort of by definition, is when a company markets a certain product as if it is healthier and more environmentally friendly than it actually is. And they do this through a variety of ways. They put it in a brown paper bag colored bottle or
Mhm.
bag.
Or
They
green.
or green.
Yeah.
Or they use words like natural, or maybe the word organic is sort of smushed into their product name. Like, what's an example I saw the other day of, like, it was like simply organic coal or something like
Or
that, where
like
it's like, just because
organics or something like that.
organics, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. It's like, well, just because it sounds like the word organic doesn't make it organic. The word natural is probably one of the most deceptive, because the word natural, or all natural even,
Mhm.
does not hold really any value as far as what they are and aren't allowed to put into that product. The word certified organic is helpful for sure. I'd say that's one of the ones, USDA organic or certified organic is one that does hold some weight. So that is like a place to start. But it's not like the end all be all either. So other ways that they greenwash too is, putting pictures of like lavender fields on, or saying, one of my, I think the most deceptive is like, this product made with organic ingredients or with
Yes.
natural ingredients, which
Mhm.
basically just means some of the ingredients in here are not harmful for you, but there's no guarantee that the other ones aren't. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And that's what happened with our laundry detergent. And so this can happen. It can happen to any of us. It happened to us in
Anyone.
our home. It happened
Exactly.
to my little baby. I was so upset. And
Oh,
because I was like, how does this get by? Like,
yeah.
And so talk about baby skin being a litmus test for things that one shouldn't have in their household.
I
But yeah,
know,
it's so easy to
exactly.
get tricked.
It
Um,
is. It is. And I'll say, the only guarantee that exactly what's in all your products is if you make them
mhm.
yourself. Me being a busy mom who doesn't particularly love DIY either, I do make some of my own products. Like, I have my own essential oil, like face serum that I make and things, but I don't really like DIYing all the time.
Mm-mm.
And so I have just sort of deferred to buddying up with certain companies that I typically buy online from, because in order for a company who's making actually truly good for you products and good for the environment, the price points for their products have to be higher. They just
Yes.
have to be. And so they almost all the time, they just cannot compete with what's on your grocery store shelf, because it costs millions of dollars just to get on that grocery store shelf. And if their bottle of, let's say, laundry detergent is sitting there for $10, and then the product next to them that looks green, it looks good, but it's actually not, is sitting there for even a dollar less, even just $9, no one's going to buy the $10 product if it's sitting right next to it on the shelf. So I've really diverted to mostly online shopping and just getting to know certain companies that I buy from, that I know have my best interest at heart and have the environment's interest at heart as well. And I think that there's so many options out there for that now. And online shopping is becoming so popular that it's really, once you get in a rhythm of like getting your auto ship, brought in once a month, like I buy for my laundry products, there's just one company and that's what they specialize in, is just laundry products that are all natural. And there's zero waste as well, which I love. They send you the refill packets every month. They're called My Green Fills.
Yeah, we
And
support them.
I love them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. I'm sure if you have like a link to share, put it up for everyone. But they're great. And so I've just kind of learned to stop buying these things from the grocery store unless I'm in a huge pinch, because I just can't trust those products as much as direct, like from company to consumer type products that aren't trying to compete for those $1 million shelf space, right?
Totally. So true. So true. And I agree. Yeah. So some of our things are do it yourself. And I have a whole book on literally essential oil do yourself recipes, but I don't always have time for that as well. So there are definitely
Exactly.
things where I go and we buy online. We're on auto ship for those things that we know we need. Like I'm not making baby wipes. I'm not, do you know how many baby wipes I go
Ain't
through every
nobody got
single
time for
time?
that.
Nobody's got time for that. So I'm not making baby wipes, but like I think about all the things that we do have made versus the things that we buy. But it's, there's just that fine balance of doing that research. Like I'm not making makeup, and so that's,
Right, right.
that's,
Yeah,
I can,
it's about finding a
yeah,
balance for sure.
so
Yeah.
true. Okay. You and I both are essential oil lovers, but talk to me about how essential oils can fit into this.
Sure. I mean, essential oils, you and I both know, fit into our lives every day in so many different ways. I think for this conversation, the easiest way that they incorporate is just through that DIY sort of
Hmm.
approach. They, especially for people who are really attached to their smells and their fragrances, they don't want to let them go. You can easily replace those kind of artificial fake fragrances for essential oil fragrance, and you're getting, not only are you not getting exposure to those chemicals, but you're getting all those benefits of essential oils too. We know that inhaling and smelling essential oils is so good for our moods, our emotions, our hormones, our digestive systems. Every aspect of our body is benefited when we're inhaling and interacting with essential oils. And so, even just replacing your air freshener with a diffuser, and then you can have so much fun concocting all your different essential oil recipes. I love orange oil. Like orange oil to me, even just on its own, is so uplifting and so encouraging. Like I don't feel the need to spray my home full of, formaldehyde laden fragrances. I can just push a button on my diffuser and then concoct all sorts of fun things.
I
Orange
love it.
oil, lavender, eucalyptus, rosemary. I love frankincense. I could just smell frankincense all day. And, not only does it make my house smell amazing, but it calms my entire nervous system down. It makes me feel grounded. So there's so many benefits to that as well. And then sort of the conversation we were having earlier, just about self-empowerment and being the CEO of your health. Essential oils to me represent a toolkit that I can go to, a toolkit of solutions that just through a little bit of research, I can say, ooh, I have a little headache or I feel a little nauseous, let me see what my essential oils can offer me. And I'll pick up some peppermint. Maybe I'll put a drop on my tongue and it'll quash my headache and get rid of my nausea. Or maybe my kid, has the sniffles, and instead of just waiting it out or calling the doctor and saying, do I need to come in and what do you got for me? Usually all they have is antibiotics. Then I can say, you know what, let me be proactive. Let me put some frankincense in the diffuser. Let me rub some tea tree on their chest. And so for me, it just represents a toolkit that I always have to go to help me stay in charge of my health and be proactive and stay healthy instead of waiting to get sick.
I hear that. Yeah, my favorite swap for essential oils is really swapping out the medicine cabinet. I woke up today because the baby was in bed with me in the morning and my neck was totally tweaked. And so I just grab oils for that. I have a blend that's already pre-made in a roller for that, literally. Like they're just so great to have these pre-made solutions too. Once you know what's working for you and your family, just have them in little rollers or have them in pre-made little salves or whatever it is, whatever works easier for you. And you can just grab and go whatever you need. So I agree that that's such a great little way. It's the first thing we grab first. When my husband husband came to me today with he's got his, like one of his fingers is a little bit swollen around, his cuticle. And he knows what to use. He's like, it's some Melaleuca, maybe a little, like a Melaleuca roller. And I was like, yeah, no, and just be consistent. I always tell people anytime it comes to health and with essential oils too, it's about consistency. And so, yeah, he just a little bit of validation there. And I'm like, and I'm like, just have it next to you so you don't forget to keep putting it on all day. But yeah, these are the conversations we've had already today, or things that we've used today, because it's what we use first.
Right. Exactly. And it can be easy to feel a little overwhelmed when you're first getting started with essential oils, because there's so many different ones. And then there's all the arguments online about which one's the best. And then there's all the like myths and misconceptions about how, they're dangerous and they're going to kill your cat and like all this stuff. So it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. But at the end of the day, it is really very simple. They are simple tools that come from nature that I believe people intuitively know how to use. And so my podcast, for example, we have over 250 episodes, and every episode is about essential oils. That is what the podcast is about, just essential oils. We have never run out of topics to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And we go in depth, we go deep. We have people who come on and share all the stories about how it helped them with their depression or their Crohn's disease or postpartum or whatever. But at the end of the day, you could go and listen to episode 1 of my podcast and walk away and never come back, and you'd know how to use essential oils. So as fun as it is to go super in depth and hear all the different ways and all the different essential oils and how to use them, it's not rocket science. You can use them and they're really easy and they are very safe. Just need to learn a few basic safety, guidelines, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Love that so much. And I 100% agree with you. Yes, despite all the crazy stuff you can see online, there are millions. We're talking about millions upon millions of people and families and children using oils around the world, and and animals too. Yes, using it with great success and great results. I always say they're an instantaneous win when it comes to our healthcare needs. Okay, so you've got, because I know people are like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm ready to make some detoxification changes, reduce my toxic load in my home. And you've got an ebook for us, the Ultimate Tox-Free Home Guide, which I love. So you've got checklists and printouts. So to just really begin to implement that, like to take a weekend and start doing the work. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's free for everyone to use. It's sort of like my baby step starting place for people that really just need a little encouragement. They need a little cheat sheet they can print out and bring to the grocery store with them, just to avoid those top 15 chemicals you do not want to be using that are in your product. So yeah, it's a really great place to start. And we'll put a link to that in your show notes, I'm sure. It's also, if you go to my Instagram, which is Sam Lee Wright, and it's SAMLEEWRIGHT, Sam Lee Wright. I've got a link tree there, and there's a link to that as well. You can download for free.
Perfect. And then also the podcast is, just really quickly share one more time.
Sure. It's the Essential Oil Revolution.
Perfect. Anywhere else, Samantha, honey, you want us to go check you out?
Yeah, I'd say if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's the place I'm the most active. If you're looking for even more resources, I have courses and I have books like DIY or buy guides that you can buy. And those are all on the podcast website, which is revolutionoilspodcast.com.
Perfect. All right. We'll have all of that in the show notes, my dear. It was such a pleasure to have you. Oh my goodness. And so grateful to just really dive into, the whole world of toxic consumable products. And not only mainly for our skin, it's very much that those products are what's going and being absorbed into our skin. And I think the more that we get educated about this, about what solutions we have and how to become more savvy, the better choices we're going to be making for ourselves and our families. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate coming here and sharing and speaking to your audience. And again, I love the work that you do, and you are empowering so many people to take charge of their health. And anyone who's doing that work, I want to give you praise for that. You're doing a great job.
Thanks so much, my dear. Looking forward to talking with you soon.
Bye.